this time last year, I uploaded this video.
This month is coming to an end. I'm still unemployed, and unfortunately, I have to leave San Francisco. I've lived here for 3 years, and this has been my home. This has been the best 3 years of my life, and I have to immediately throw it away because I lost my job.
And here we are, basically 1 year later in the exact same situation, but with a twist. This isn't clickbait. You've read the title. We need to talk, and just let me explain myself. I am an absolute hot ass mess. So I'm gonna have you come on this journey with me on the Hot Mess Express because I owe y'all a huge explanation of what the title says, and we're here to talk about it. So yes, I am temporarily leaving San Francisco. Keyword, temporarily. So there are a few reasons as to why I am making this move away from the city. As you know, 2020 was a nightmare of a year for me. I made a couple of videos just expressing how I was really screwed over by 2020 and how nothing was going my way and my life felt like it was falling apart. I've talked about how much debt I have and how it's really hard to live in San Francisco. This city is very expensive, and when you lose a job, you probably have to leave San Francisco because it's absolutely unaffordable to live in the city without some sort of income. And that was my situation. And I've been struggling. I've been living off a lot of unemployment for most of 2020, and it hasn't been enough to tide me over and to keep me financially stable. There is some good news here that makes this video different than the one that I uploaded last year. So last year, I was actually forced out of San Francisco because I simply couldn't get a job and I had nowhere else to go. So I was forced to go back to my hometown of Richmond, Virginia and live with my parents. I am proud to say this is not the case this time around. I am moving to a new city, and I know in my video that I made in July called I'm Done, I talked about how I wanted to move to Australia, and turns out that just was not going to be physically or financially possible for me. While I still think living in Australia could be a really cool thing, it just wasn't possible. So I did choose another city, and I am going to reveal where I am moving to in just a little bit, but it's not going to be in Virginia. It's not going to be on the East Coast. I'm still staying on the West Coast, thankfully, so that will make this move a lot easier and less expensive on me. So basically the reason that I'm leaving San Francisco temporarily is just to save a little bit of money. And with all the financial crisis that I've hit in 2020, I just simply can't afford to live here right now. And trust me, it hurts. I feel really, I want to say ashamed, even though I shouldn't be ashamed because I'm not the only person in San Francisco who's lost their job this past year. But it just sucks because my whole channel is about navigating life and dating in San Francisco, and how am I supposed to do that when I'm not going to be in San Francisco? I am going to explain that and kind of how my channel is going to be impacted, but I do want to start off by saying the reason why this situation is different than last year is because my hell is over. I have finally seen the light at the end of the tunnel, and I have gotten a full-time job. Full-time job, not contract job, not part-time job, full-time salary job. I'm really excited that I have finally gotten a job right as I was planning on moving, because where I am moving to is a lot cheaper and I'm going to be saving a ton of money, and it will allow me to pay off my debt a lot quicker. I do plan on coming back to San Francisco in June, and when I come back in June, my goal is to have 2 of the loans that I had taken out already paid off. They're really close to being paid off, and I do think I'll have them paid off in April or May, so that's very exciting for me. And then I will also have almost the whole credit card paid off. So that's a plus in my goals when it comes to the debt and why making this move will help me. But in terms of the job, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't nervous. I have very high anxiety, and I've talked a little bit on this channel about my anxiety, and I've also recorded a podcast episode about my mental health, which will come out in a few weeks. Can you stop shaking, please? Thank you. Yeah, my anxiety is really high. After my last 3 jobs that I've had, the job has let me go. One was me getting fired, and then the others were layoffs. So I'm very nervous that this job may not keep me employed. I'm scared that one little hiccup on my end and I'm gone. Or something happens in the company and surprise, you're laid off. I'm terrified. I'm very scared about the future of my job. I have like a 3-month trial period with this job, and it's really just dependent on the performance review. So I want to work my hardest to make sure that I make a good impression and that my employer really likes the work that I'm doing. But I'm scared. I'm really, really terrified. I'm terrified I'm going to lose it all based off my history with other jobs. So that is something that's been on my mind. It is exciting that I did get a job, and I'm excited that it's a very high-paying job, one that's going to allow me to live comfortably, which is what I've always wanted from my life. But again, I'm scared. I really am. So that's just kind of what I wanted to address, and I'm sure there are other people who have felt that way too, where they've always been let go from a job when it's not their own fault. I am just kind of focusing on breathing and trying to lower my anxiety. I am going to therapy because of it, so I'm just trying to breathe and just remember that this company hired me because they know I can do the job. It is another recruiting job, and I'm also going to be doing a lot of HR stuff as well, which is something that's a little bit new for me, but I feel like it's something that I can tackle and I can learn and grow, so it's exciting. So I want to be more excited than nervous, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't nervous because, oh my god, I am so nervous. So now you want to know where I'm moving to. Obviously, it's not Australia. I'm not staying in California. So I have decided to move to Portland, Oregon. And the reason that I chose Portland, it is because it is so much cheaper to live there than it is here. So I am paying $1,286 for this bedroom, and the room that I'm paying for in Portland is $767. That's a $519 difference right there. With the salary that I have working remotely, is going to allow me to easily live comfortably in Portland while paying off my debt and also starting to be able to save money. So that was one big factor. Another reason as to why I chose Portland is because it is doable to live there without a car. Now, the commute with their public transportation is going to be a lot slower and take me a lot longer, so that's one downside. But they do have a lot of buses and light rail systems that can get you around the city without a car. It just takes longer. But I am thinking about buying a bike because I know Portland's a very bikeable city, and that's great exercise, and that's a great way for me to get my cardio in, and I would love to just be more active. So that's something I'm looking forward to. And then I will say the downside about moving to Portland is the weather. It is going to be better than Seattle's, but it's definitely not going to be as good as San Francisco's. Portland does get a lot of rain, and I know that's one thing that I'm not really looking forward to, and it is a little bit chillier there. But at the same time, it's not going to be winter crazy weather like it would be on the East Coast. So that is something that I'm trying to remind myself of. But those are some of the reasons as to why I chose Portland. Oh, and then Portland still has this very city-like feel, and I think that it will remind me a little bit of San Francisco with that city feel and the fact that there's a lot of nature and things to do in Portland. So that was another reason as to why I chose it for the next 4 months. And when I move back to San Francisco, I hope that, assuming that I still have my job, I will be getting a studio, which is on my vision board. And based off the salary that I have, it will be doable to afford a studio, which is something I'm really excited about. But let's just keep my fingers crossed that I am still employed by June. Otherwise, I'm going to be back to sharing a whole apartment with other people, and that's so hard to find, especially finding a place that will allow me to have a cat. So for final thoughts, to just end this video, I want to ask you a question. Because I'm temporarily moving to Portland, I want to know, do you still want me to make San Francisco videos while I'm in Portland? Because there's some things that I could still make while in Portland, talking about honest living in San Francisco and doing sit-down videos in my room. Or would you rather have me focus more on Portland content and maybe comparing and contrasting that to San Francisco? I really want to know your thoughts because at the end of the day, I don't make these videos for myself. I make them for you. It's called YouTube for a reason. Y'all are the ones that are watching my videos. I really need your feedback, so please comment down below and let me know what you prefer because that's going to allow me to give you content that you're going to find valuable. One more thing, I won't be uploading a video next Monday just because I'm going to be moving this weekend and I will be in Portland literally tomorrow after this video is updated and I just won't have time to sit down and edit a video, but there will be a video next Friday of me moving out of San Francisco into Portland, into my new place. And yeah, and then we're going to get started with a new little journey and kind of slightly rebranding myself a little bit. So just wanted to give you an update on that. I hope you enjoyed this video. You thought it was very insightful for whatever reason. Make sure you give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And I will see you next week with a brand new video in Portland. Bye!